SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
State Treasurer David McRae is returning record amounts of money to Mississippians, whether it's through the College and Career Savings Program or the hundreds of millions in unclaimed money awaiting your claim. Treasurer David McRae says get your applications and claims in today. Treasury.ms.gov.
This is Gerard Gibert, and thank you for listening to MidDays here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute. Former NFL star Antonio Brown was arrested Thursday in Dubai by U.S. Marshals on an attempted murder charge and extradited to the U.S. Brown is accused of grabbing a handgun from a security staffer after a celebrity boxing match in May and allegedly firing 2 shots at a man he had gotten into a fist fight with earlier. The victim told police 1 bullet grazed his neck. Later on social media, Brown said he was jumped. Miami police issued an arrest warrant shortly after. The former star wide receiver evaded police for more than 4 months, but still kept posting on social media. Eventually, authorities were able to piece together that he was in Dubai. Brown has dealt with several legal problems over the years. He was previously accused of battery of a moving truck driver, several domestic violence charges, and failure to pay child support in other incidents. Now he's facing a second-degree attempted murder charge that carries a maximum 15-year prison sentence. There's more on this story at foxnews.com or subscribe to the Fox True Crime Podcast. I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute.
I'm Ashley Dvorkin with a Fox Celebrity Profile with director Michelle Garza Cervera of Hulu's The Hand That Rocks the Cradle remake. She wanted her characters to live in the gray area.
I wanted to challenge the conception of good and evil that are usually, in thrillers there's always like the victim and the evil one, and I wanted to challenge that, and give both characters kind of like more of a palette of both sides. So that was kind of like the main core about it.
It's a female-driven story made by many women on the creative team too.
To me, kind of comes very naturally. Like I love to be surrounded by women. I mean, that it's always very mixed. We had also a lot of men involved in the production, but I think there's something that has to do with sensibility, So then a creative team approaches you, and of course, if they've been through those domestic spaces and they've had those fears that many times women have, they know that have to do with paranoia and gaslighting and self-gaslighting, and so all of these things to me come so natural for us. I feel like we're experts in the horror, in the thriller genre, women.
Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. Hello. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome into MidDays with Gerard Gibert. I am not Gerard Gibert. That is Rhino over there on the other side of the glass. Gerard is stuck in traffic, believe it or not. Mississippi occasionally does have traffic and congestion, and apparently they were doing some road work, and he got stuck, and there was nothing we could do about it besides go to the bullpen, and that person wasn't available, so they came up with me. Anyway, I am Will East, sitting in for Gerard for just a little bit until he gets here, but the big story of the day, of course, is the federal government has reopened. President Trump has signed a bill ending the shutdown after a record 43-day disruption. We put it on our Facebook page earlier, who won the shutdown showdown, and everyone's answer is the same. No one, but I know who lost the shutdown showdown, and that is the American people, Rhino.
Yeah, I mean, politically, it does look like the Democrats didn't get a whole lot out of it, and Republicans, while not getting anything else.
They got a 7-week vacation.
Yeah, and the House has been gone. They haven't done anything since September until the last few days, so they've had a glorious time with the weather changing and everything. But, yeah, it's one of those where the American people lost, but then again, you look around and there are a handful of people that were directly involved or directly impacted, but you talk to most of the people in your life and they barely noticed. And it's sad and a bit crazy. It's crazy that we spend so much time and money and energy and send so many of our dollars that we work hard for to the government, and most of the population doesn't even notice when they're not working. And it's crazy that the government is so large that it still has such an impact on our lives. It's just one of those things where you wind up questioning why we have a government that's just so overburdensome, and you start thinking, how did we get here? And you just go down a rabbit hole of, well, what do we do now?
Yeah, and two, this bill just didn't open up the government. There was also some other things involved in this bill. I was reading the text of it, and there's some stuff that was included. I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of weird. There's language that was put in there that basically would give senators the opportunity to sue when a federal agency or an employee searches their electronic records without notifying them, allowing for up to $500,000 in potential damages for each violation. That seems to be helping Republican senators pursue damages if their phone records were analyzed by the FBI. And, boy, that's never happened before, Gerard.
Hey, finally made it. Yeah, that's got a lot of buzz going this morning. This provision that was kind of secretly inserted. They don't do that, of course. Don't. Lindsey Graham was talking about this last week.
Yeah.
And he was pretty belligerent about, I'm going to sue him, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think anybody and look, if they illegally obtained his records and he wants to sue them, I think that's fair game. But to include in a funding bill payment, that's the way I understood it. There's just direct payments to senators, right?
That's right. They could basically sue when a federal agency or employee, I'm guessing they mean a federal employee, searches their electronic records without notifying them. So basically saying that if you're a senator and I'm going to search your phone records, I have to call you first and say, hey, or send you a letter or something saying, hey, we're searching your phone records. And if they do not do that, you can sue the federal government, basically, for up to $500,000. There was also some money put in this package, which included over $200 million to boost security for lawmakers and an additional $28 million for the security of Supreme Court justices.
Yeah, there was. Now, I mean, I guess we could debate whether or not that is a valid funding provision or not. Do they need additional security? I think there's a lot of concern after what we've witnessed in the last couple of years with the president having multiple people actually, multiple incidents of attempting to assassinate him. And then, of course, fresh on everybody's mind is the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Absolutely.
So they're looking to beef up security for members of Congress, and there's some money included in that. But I guess you could say it's not exactly a clean CR because there were some additions that were made that didn't get a lot of attention, and those were certainly a couple of them.
So federal government reopens. In fact, I mean, it affects so many things. I'll give you an example of something I've got to do this morning. I've got to go upload some documents to the FCC website. It was shut down because the federal government was shut down. So I've got to go upload those. I have to tell them the reason why I wasn't able to upload those on time now. But reopens after 43 days. And basically, as we were saying earlier, Gerard, the Democrats blinked. Nobody really wins from this. There's really only losers. Besides, do federal government workers now get back pay for the pay that they missed for this 43-day period?
Apparently they will. I mean, that's the latest I've seen on that, is that they're going to see all of their pay that they missed caught up and paid in full. The other big thing is, of course, travel. Still, we have 6% of flights must be reduced. That is from the Department of Transportation is mandating that airlines reduce their flight, the number of flights, I should say, their flight traffic overall by 6%. But they are saying that we should be fully reopened and back to normal operations by Thanksgiving, because that was in question the last couple of days. But here's the big thing, Will. We got to do this all over again at the end of January.
Yeah.
So except for 3 areas that were funded for a year, the legislative branch and agriculture and Veterans Affairs. Those 3 bills, which are part of the package of 12, which funds the government through what's called regular order. They did make their way through the House, the Senate, and ultimately to the President for enactment, included in the CR. But all the rest of government only is good to go through the end of January.
Oh, fun.
And here we go again, which is just crazy to think about that that's the way we run. Now, the President, interestingly enough, yesterday, as part of the signing ceremony, not sure if folks caught this, he said, it's time to end the filibuster so that this never happens again.
Yeah.
And that's very controversial.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people, of course, on the right that appreciate the filibuster and the fact that just ups the threshold for passing legislation in the Senate. George Washington famously referred to that process as having the hot coffee coming out of the hot mess, I think is what he said, coming out of the House and going over to the Senate, and that's the Senate serves as the cooling saucer of government. So you get the hot, crazy stuff out of the House, it goes to the Senate, and they say, wait a second over there, guys. Thus the 60-vote threshold. So that was the vision of our founders. The President says we should end that. I have some thoughts about that.
Okay.
Finally made it.
Finally made it. Well,
okay.
That's good. Was it construction?
Wreck. Big time. Bad crash on 55. Here, though.
I hear that. All right, we'll be right back here in just a moment on the Midday Show with Gerard Gibert here in the Element Wealth Studio.
This segment of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Gerard Gibert. He keeps his classified documents right where they belong. Inside a Journey record jacket from the 1980s. Gerard Gibert. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Okay, they may be one of the best listen to music while you're driving songs ever. It's just like made for driving, isn't it? Tears for Fears. Great tune. Well, appreciate Will handling the mic a little bit there. I tell you, I did my best to try to find a route to get here. A big crash on 55. Southbound, just north of the Madison exit. And, of course, everybody had the same idea I did and said, well, let me just go 51. The old route before we had interstates, paralleling it. Got on 51 and got down to about even with Gluckstadt. And some sort of issue there, some sort of construction problem. And I looked ahead at this long line of cars, and they're all turning around, doing 180s. And I said, yeah, that probably isn't going to work. So had to find another route. Finally made it. Sorry about that. Appreciate Will coming in and you, Rhino, for handling that in my absence. But we're all set, ready to go now. Man, oh, man, we do have a government that looks like it is reopening at this point. We had the vote last night, then the president signed off on the legislation to open the government. 6 Democrats joined with Republicans to finally end the Schumer shutdown. And I agree with what Will was saying earlier, which is, what the heck did they accomplish in all this? Other than, it just feels like, to me, I know they're saying... It
gave Democrats something to campaign on for the elections.
It's about Trump.
But that was just about all they got out of it. And Republicans weren't really looking for anything in it especially considering they weren't going to regular order. They were just kicking the can down the road again. So you can't really say they got anything out of it. You could argue they lost because of Democrat victories in the elections. But then you could also argue that Democrats lost because all of the attention they've been putting on the Obamacare subsidies has brought back to light how much of a boondoggle Obamacare is to begin with. So it just looks like losers all around. But then again, we're talking about the federal government. It is a bunch of losers.
I think you had 6 Democrats finally said, yeah, we better get on board here and open this up. And you have to believe that they felt compelled to do so because of potential future political liability in their districts. Again, it's always about the next election cycle. So you had a vote of 222 to 209. 6 Democrats crossing party lines to reopen the government. And, of course, the president signed that into law, so we got us some money to take us through the end of January for most of government. Meantime, just looking at the tote board on travel airline cancellations, 996 canceled today, 973 flights delayed. San Francisco and Orlando seem to be topping the list of cancellations and delays. It's going to take a little while to get all that back to normal, but Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says he expects normal operations to return by Thanksgiving. That's welcome news because that typically is the biggest travel time of the entire year in the nation. A lot of folks move about during Thanksgiving, and they go to the skies for such purposes. Wow. So the other thing we've been talking about that came up yesterday is the prospect of a $2,000 tariff rebate check. White House is exploring options for sending Americans $2,000 rebate checks. That's at the same time the Supreme Court is considering a legal challenge to the president's use of tariffs. So, not sure it would be prudent to send money out when you have the possibility of having to issue rebates to many American companies who actually remitted tariff payments to the federal treasury. I also believe this would be inflationary. Now, if you don't like rich people getting even richer on the market, then you don't want these tariff rebates to go out. Because you know folks are going to go out and spend this money, and that's going to boost profits, and everybody's going to go crazy because publicly traded companies are going to see that hit their bottom line, and investors are going to like that, and they're going to boost the market. The consequences, however, are with the increased money in the economy and more spending not driven by productivity, just pulling money out of thin air, that usually sparks inflation. That's what happened during the Biden era. And then the other thing I would say is it would cost about $370 billion, according to my calculations, when you look at the taxpayers in the country. I think there are 180-plus million taxpayers. The millions and the billions get conflated there. The tariff revenue is on track for a full year to come in at about $300 million. But I was really hoping that money would be used to reduce the deficit. And if we're just going to turn around and send it back out the door, then obviously it's not having any impact on the deficit.
I see the proposed $2,000 rebate check from a little bit different angle.
Okay.
It's the angle of the federal government and those serving us in D.C. are so out of touch and disconnected from reality that they consider anyone making $100,000 or less to be low income.
That's
because
true.
They're only going to give supposedly $2,000 checks to everyone making less than $100,000.
Right. And by the way, you're right about that. So that is less than it would be if you didn't have a threshold. It'd be about twice that amount. About $600 billion is what it would cost to send out $2,000 checks. So, yeah, I think that's largely right. Now, the median household income in this country is $85,000. Median. That means half the households earn more than that, half earn less than that. It's the median. And
so it seems like those in D.C. don't really understand that disconnect. They don't really understand that, well, if the median household is this and you think everybody making less than $100,000 needs more money, then what's up there, buddy?
Yeah, I agree. And the president also said all the money left over from the payments made to low and middle income USA citizens, which now we've learned is it appears to be defined for purposes of this tariff payment at $100,000, as you just said. That number was mentioned, I think, by the Treasury Secretary yesterday. He says from the massive tariff income pouring into our country from foreign countries, except with all due respect, Mr. President, it's American companies that pay tariffs, not foreign countries, which will be substantial. We will use it to, quote, in all caps, substantially pay down national debt. Well, it's only $300 billion a year. Now, I say only because when you got a $7.3 trillion budget, that ain't a lot of money in the scheme of things, relatively speaking. And we have a $2 trillion deficit. We just ran up a 1.8 and change, almost 1.9 for fiscal year 2025, which ended September 30th. There doesn't seem to be any break in that trend at this point. In fact, we just added $1 trillion to the debt in 60 days. More debt in that period of time than in any other time in history. I sure would like to see the Treasury just retain all of that tariff income, which doesn't amount to a whole lot, again, in the scheme of things. But it certainly helps, and use that to minimize deficits, because without that revenue, you could certainly contend that deficits would be higher. I think that's the wise thing to do and not send it out. How could you look at this in any other way than saying, well, this is welfare? If you're going to send it out to everybody, low and middle income citizens, just send them checks. I thought we opposed that. We're stepping aside for a break. Coming right back, we got Dr. Wanda Stroupe, Dr. Carolyn Coleman. They're going to come in and talk about the MANP program.
Covering the stories that matter most to Mississippians. Gerard Gibert. Middays with Gerard. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Yeah, it was yesterday when Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said there are a lot of options here that the president's talking about with respect to the $2,000 rebates. That would be for families making less than, say, $100,000. That's what he said in an interview yesterday. Clarified, though, that they haven't ironed out the details yet. If the Trump administration had decided on a limit, it's just under discussion. He wanted to make that clear in his interview yesterday. And he also said on another news network, he said the dividend could, quote, come in lots of forms, and that, quote, it could be just the tax decreases that we are seeing. And that's what I discussed yesterday, that these tax provisions included in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act actually are retroactive to January 1 of this year. But, your employer has, of course, already withheld taxes for the first half of the year under the old tax structure, not incorporating these new reductions, the tax on tips, overtime, increased standard deduction for seniors who are working, of course. That's where that would apply. And so what that will result in is some folks who have overpaid, if they meet any of those scenarios, tips, overtime, increased deduction, standard deduction, overpaid for the first half of the year, and then they would be set for a refund of that overpayment when they do their tax return in 2026 for tax year 2025. So that's what the Treasury Secretary is talking about. So that would definitely be a windfall, no doubt. Not expected. Most people probably aren't thinking about the fact that, yeah, those are retroactive tax provisions, and thus, had they applied for the first half of the year, you would have had less withheld from your check. But because the bill was passed in June, went into effect then, you're going to catch up when you do your tax return. When you prepare your tax return and you're doing the difference between what you paid in when you get to the end there and what you owe. If you paid in more than you owe, of course, you're due a refund, and that the stage is set for that for many taxpayers. And I think that's what Mr. Bessent, our Treasury Secretary, was referring to. So we'll certainly see where that goes. A lot of talk about the Affordable Care Act, should be named the Unaffordable Care Act, and the subsidized coverage in the exchanges, which on a handshake deal, the majority leader, John Thune, the Republican in the Senate, has agreed to have a debate about those, even vote on extending the enhanced subsidies in December, but it's simply a handshake. There's no assurance, no legal agreement between the majority leader and the Democrats that says, yeah, I'm absolutely guaranteeing we're going to do that in the form of, call it a contract, if you will. That doesn't exist. It's just a handshake. And we'll certainly see if they take that up and how the Republicans will vote on extending the enhanced subsidies in the exchanges, which was what at the heart of the debate. But I think at the end of the day, what was at the heart of the debate was the deep contempt Democrats have for Donald Trump. I really believe that was going on there. Tiger Woods has agreed to help renovate an historic Washington, D.C. golf course, originally built for black players in the first half of the 20th century. Langston Golf Course, where everyone from local players to icons, including Muhammad Ali and Joe Louis, they've teed it up there. It's open to the public, but it's in terrible shape. It's in disrepair, owned by the National Park Service, leased in 2020 to a nonprofit called National Links Trust. They've been working to rehabilitate and renovate and restore the public golf courses around the District of Columbia. So this is interesting that Tiger Woods is apparently going to provide some assistance in the way of funding and design. I think that's kind of cool. Really do.
Yeah, it's him and a guy named Ed Rousseau.
Okay.
That are going to be redesigning it and renovating it and doing all the details.
I think it's neat. Also, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said yesterday that consumers should expect a substantial announcement to lower the cost of some stuff that's really gone up a lot. That's coffee, bananas, and some other fruits. And he's going to in the tariffs on these items. That's what's being discussed. Coffee prices have jumped by 21% year over year in August. About 20% in September. That according to some recent consumer inflation data. Some of this, they're saying, is due to some climate events, but U.S. prices also have been affected by tariffs. 50% tariff that the president imposed on many products we import from Brazil. And that would include the vast majority of America's coffee. We don't have the environmental conditions that are conducive to the growing of coffee. So that is a product that we import, and Americans love their coffee. So he said bananas. I guess we don't grow a lot of bananas here, or at all? I don't think so, right? Same situation. We don't have the climatological conditions.
I mean, it's not – there are – how do I put this? How do I say it correctly? It's not that there are zero bananas and zero coffee grown within the U.S. You just can't do it at scale to do it commercially.
Okay. Makes sense. So the Department of Agriculture says that in 2024, 85% of fresh banana imports into this country came from 4 nations: Guatemala, Ecuador, Costa Rica, and Honduras. That's what they grow down there, and we import it. And so there have been some tariffs imposed by the president. The Treasury Secretary says, we think in order to improve affordability of those products, we're going to eliminate the tariffs. So I think this is a situation that calls attention to the value of tariffs, where they make sense, where they don't. And I think the risk always is when you do kind of a random sort of universal application, maybe that doesn't always work. In the case here, where it's not like we can say, hey, come grow your coffee in this country. It's not going to happen. We don't have the environmental conditions that are conducive to and really required to grow these products. So relaxing these tariffs, I think, would be welcome news for Americans. I heard an interview early this morning, with someone. I don't know the exact name of the person and the organization that he was associated with, but it was cattle and beef in that industry overall. And, of course, folks are recognizing that the price of beef has skyrocketed. And he went through a discussion of how thinning of the herd has been the big driver there. And he predicted $10 a pound ground beef next year. $10 a pound ground beef. He said it would be 27 till we see supply normalize and thus prices for beef recede as well. $10 a pound. Ground beef was high. Now, he said something, Rhino, I don't remember the exact term. It sounded like kind of a technical term that deals with how they determine when to, I guess I'm going to use the word harvest. I don't know exactly what the proper word is, but it's when you send the cattle off to be processed, right? Send them forward to the slaughter and meat production process. He said that they're going to, the reason we're going to see a spike is that it's kind of a short-term pain, long-term gain. They're going to hold back the cows, the cows, the female cows, to reproduce more before they send them off to try to expand the size of the herd. And so that does mean maybe more shortage because we're holding them back more for reproductive purposes. I mean, it made sense to me. There's some technical term associated with that. We may have a cattle farmer out listening that could help us out. But he mentioned that and said, in the meantime, it's going to get higher. Coming right back.
Middays with Gerard.
Good for America. Good for fans of justice and truth. Good for us.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
This is what we stand for.
Well, Verizon just announced they're laying off 15,000. Largest layoff ever. I think we're going to continue to see more job losses as the economy is starting to get a little sluggish, except for certain parts of it. But it's a combination. There is some truth that some of the entry-level jobs, at least, are being replaced with artificial intelligence. But for the most part, this is all driven by economic dynamics. And now Verizon joins the list of a number of other companies who are shedding employees in an effort to cut costs. We'll see if there will be any more. So, also, you're wrong again, Thomas, as you typically are when you're talking about this subject matter. You're completely obsessed with H-1B visas. Do you sleep, or do you just read social media, internet stuff about H-1B visas? You seem to not be able to get over it. And in case you hadn't checked and noticed, there's a shortage of teachers in this state, in this country. There's a shortage of radiologists. To the tune, last I checked, Rhino, there are 1,000 openings for radiologists in this country. 1,000. That's a lot. And I don't know where we're going to get them, but that is a factor that figures into the spike in healthcare costs. It's a demand and supply thing. There's a shortage of medical healthcare professionals, and hospitals, clinics, etc., are having to pay a lot more for these personnel, and that's all figuring into our cost of healthcare. That's been a huge driver. Just a shortage. We have a way more care, a numerous array of services that are available that weren't a few years ago. Everybody wants them. They cost money. We don't have enough people to deliver all those services based on the demand. But as the market typically does, it does its thing and says, well, you're going to have to pay more money for these people to fill the demand. Simple as that. Don't send me any more, Thomas. I'm not reading it, just to let you know. It's ridiculous. Verizon is laying off 15,000, says Dustin from Walnut, but also is acquiring Frontier Communications. Yeah, I saw that as well. Appreciate that. Have y'all seen the Besant video where he explains line swapping with other countries to help offset money? Yeah, I have. It's about Argentina. It's really only Argentina. And it's a currency swap, not line swapping. But, yeah, they are doing that. And there was a journalist, I think, on CNN that got into the weeds with the Secretary of Treasury. And rapidly the Secretary showed that he has greater command of that subject matter, as he should, than this journalist. So what he said was that, well, yeah, we're providing this currency swap that looks like a bailout to Argentina to stabilize its currency, but the American taxpayers will produce a return and make money off that. That is the expectation. That remains to be seen. That hasn't happened yet, but that is the plan. That is the strategy. And hopefully that will happen. I don't know that I'd like to see our government engage in such practices on a regular basis. I really don't. But that's something else to certainly consider. Ken from Forest says tariff rebates with income limits is taxing the rich like the Dems preach. Yeah, I mean, it's not, Ken, from the perspective that, okay, to pay out these rebates, we're going to increase taxes on the rich. That won't happen. What will, however, happen, I believe, is that if we, again, drop all this money out of helicopters, as I've said numerous times on this program, which is what this would be, I do think we would see a spike in inflation as a result of that. It's almost impossible for that not to happen when you just inject $350 billion into the economy mainly through consumption without there being any commensurate productivity or production or contribution to the economy on the supply side. That's what drives inflation. And on that basis, I think that would be a problem. Radiology school has 15,000 candidates thanks to Verizon. Adapt and overcome. Yeah, I think that's a little easier said than done, however. Let's see, CD from Lewin? I'm not sure. Tech here in Mississippi has been acquired by Barrow Fiber from Boulder, Colorado. How about that? TEC, a long-standing Mississippi company in the carrier and technology and networking industry, public networking industry. We're coming right back after Fox News and SuperTalk News with the folks from the nurse practitioners.
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire!
Of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
And now, another hour of the talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Begin your transition now.
Now on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Middays from the Element Wealth Studio on this
Friday Eve.
Appreciate that, Rhino. We are pleased to welcome now Dr. Wanda Stroupe, President, Mississippi Association of Nurse Practitioners and President and CEO of Family Care Clinic of Ripley, and Dr. Carolyn Coleman, Board of Directors for the Mississippi Association of Nurse Practitioners, Central District 2, Assistant Teaching Professor at the University of Southern Mississippi, Program Coordinator for the Psychiatric Mental Health NP Program. Ladies, thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so what's on your mind these days? You guys have about 7,000 NPs in the state?
Close to 8.
It's close to 8 now. Mm-hmm. Serve a critical and vital role in the delivery of health care among our state. What are you guys trying to get done in our legislature this coming year?
Well, full practice authority is obviously always first and foremost in our mind, and we are moving toward that as well. Being able to sign off on some orders and things we haven't been able to in the past, death certificates, those sort of things. So we're working on both of those issues. Okay.
And this is also National Nurse Practitioner Week, correct?
Yes.
Any activities planned for that? Any sort of events or activities or just communications just to call attention to that?
Basically, we're just doing communications right now. We do have a raffle with our membership from the Mississippi Association of Nurse Practitioners. Anybody that joins our organization or the current members can go on, and if you join now to become a member, then you can enter our raffle to win a free conference.
Okay.
For our next year's yearly conference.
So are most of the nurse practitioners, are they a member of your organization, the association?
No, unfortunately not. We have about 10% membership, which is pretty standard for most organizations. So we're close to what's normal, but obviously we would love to have much higher membership. But we do have an active member area across the state of Mississippi.
Tell us a little bit about the scope of authority that NP has, kind of where that stops and where a full physician must come into the picture. I know that's confusing to a lot of people, and that's really been at the heart of extending full practice authority in law to the NP community. Tell us about that.
Well, full practice authority really allows nurse practitioners to practice within the scope of what they're allowed to do. So there's a scope of practice for every entity. Nurse practitioners, physicians, depending on their specialty, have certain things that are within scopes of practice. So what nurse practitioners are asking with full practice authority in the 28 states that already have it is that we're allowed to practice within our scope. So you know the scope of practice that is assigned to you based on your degree. You practice within that scope. And that basically means that nurse practitioners can diagnose, can treat, and can refer. And like with any physician, there's a specialty, and you refer to a different specialty if that's out of your specialty area. So whether you're a physician or a nurse practitioner, you're going to know what that scope level is. If you're an OBGYN and you have a patient with heart problems, obviously you're going to refer to the cardiologist. And we're in the same way. You treat and diagnose, and when you get to the point where you need a specialist, you refer that patient to the specialist. So you stay within your scope of practice, and that's the request for full practice authority, that we are allowed to practice to our full scope.
Okay.
Without having a contract. Right now, it's required that we contract with the physician to be able to practice.
Okay.
It's not supervision, so they're not supervising us. But we do have to have a contract to be able to go to work. And there's no other occupation that we know of that has to have a contract to be able to go to work. I was talking to Dr. Stroupe earlier today, and I had gotten a phone call from a nurse practitioner last night where her physician license are being suspended. And it has nothing to do with her. She has not done anything wrong, but she's not going to be allowed to work. She's going to have to close her clinic and not work because the physician that she contracts with is being suspended.
I see. Okay, so just the association itself, as required by law through contract, is causing this problem here.
Yes.
So
those are patients that are not going to be able to be seen. I've had it happen to me, myself personally. On my way to work, I stopped and checked my mailbox, and there's a letter in my mailbox saying how my collaborator license are being suspended.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about it. Don't know what the collaborator did. Had nothing to do with me. Didn't even work in the same office.
So is it not just simple enough to find another one to contract with?
No, that's not easy. It's hard.
There are restrictions on, you have to have a light practice. So I'm in family practice, and I see adults in pediatrics. But my collaborators have to be in a light practice, so I couldn't have a surgeon who said, I'll collaborate with you,
I see.
Or a cardiologist to collaborate with me. It has to be in a light practice, and they have to be practicing a certain amount of time. They can't be working the ER all the time and you're in clinic. They don't work clinic practice. It has to be similar. And then there's a fee that's associated with that, of course.
Okay. And you want to reform the laws in our state that would not require that?
We do. It's a one-page collaborative agreement that is signed saying that they have to review our charts. And like I said previously, 28 states have had this for years, some of them. And so, of course, the American Nurse Practitioner Association is supportive of this as well. And so we want to reform that law and remove that collaborative agreement. We're not asking to expand our scope of practice. We're asking for that to stay the same because we know when we need to refer, and we're held accountable to that.
What's the pushback on that? I've been in the Capitol before. I've watched those somewhat contentious debates. Honestly, in committee meetings, the room is packed, and it's almost divided. You got the NPs on one side, you got the physicians on the other side. They seem to rather strenuously object. What's that all about?
The bottom line is money. It's usually money. There's a cost to those contracts. And if we're removing that contract and that cost, we're taking away some of their income.
So you're paying the physician out of your pocket or out of whatever fees, revenues you receive for the privilege of having that relationship so that you can practice. Is that accurate?
That is absolutely accurate.
Okay. Is that the way it works in other states that require this as well? There's a flow of money between the NP and the physician that they're attached to? There
is, always. And, one interesting thing I've always found is you look at optometrists and ophthalmologists. They don't have that. They don't have the debate over titles. They don't have the debate over whether there's never been a contract between them. And there's a difference there. The optometrist is the physician and the ophthalmologist. I mean, the ophthalmologist is physician and the optometrist is not.
Right.
They've never, in all the years they've been in practice, had an issue. And yet, for us, with physicians, it's always been an issue. And but yes, that money is paid directly from the nurse practitioner. There's no revenue coming in. You pay that from whatever you bring into your clinic. That money's paid back out. And that can be set. That's always set by the physician.
Interesting.
And we've had studies from other states that have full scope practice that the value of care does not decrease.
Well, that's the other thing you hear.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most common objection you hear is that the NPs don't possess the skills and the years of training and practical experience that the full physician does.
But if you look at other states that have full scope practice, the level of care has not decreased.
And the Veterans Hospital, they have full practice in every state, even in Mississippi.
Oh, I didn't know that.
If you work for the Veterans Hospital, you have full practice already in state.
So it's somewhat exempt from state law in that respect because it's federal?
Yes, because it's federal.
Interesting.
And I believe President Trump changed that his first, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on that, but his first term, that was changed at some point there. And they've had it for a while.
Yeah, I know we made lots of reforms concerning care for veterans through the VA and the TRICARE and so forth to allow them greater access to medical resources.
Right, and it's been shown that their level of care has not dropped either.
Okay.
So, and that's right here in Jackson, Mississippi, our VA. They don't require.
So, why do you think our legislature won't see fit to reform?
Money is usually the case. It's a lot of issues with money. And now they talk about, education, and education is very important. At no point do we feel like we're physicians or do we try to portray ourselves as physicians. We know our scope of practice. And that's the thing we've really tried to put forth is we're not expanding our scope of practice. We are asking to be allowed to practice within the full scope of practice we have and not have to pay for that privilege and limit our access because, as Carolyn said, 46 nurse practitioners just this week cannot work because of a doctor losing his license.
Got it.
That's a lot of patients.
We got to go, but I got to ask you, are you going to be trying for this again this year?
We will always try for this.
And we like to say we would like to say Happy Nurse Practitioner Week to all our nurse practitioners out there listening.
Absolutely. We appreciate all that do. Dr. Wanda Stroupe, Dr. Carolyn Coleman with the Mississippi Association of Nurse Practitioners have been our guests. Appreciate you ladies for coming in.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
Now back to Middays with Gerard here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Help! I need somebody. Help! Not just anybody. Help! I need someone. Help! When I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way. Now these days are gone, I'm not so self-assured. Now I find I change my mind, I'll open up the doors.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Element Wealth studio. The Fab Four there. Help. Bumping us into this segment. Yes, National Nurse Practitioner Week going on right now, November 9th through the 15th. 7,000, almost 8, she said, in the state. That's amazing. I've had experience, in my life with nurse practitioners and have no complaints whatsoever. Have dealt with them in both primary care and specialty care situations. Seem to be incredibly competent. And I don't feel like I'm missing anything, in working with them. I know there are massive objections from those in the medical community that oppose the full practice authority idea for NPs, and it's something our legislature has considered numerous times through the years, but can't push over the finish line. I didn't know that. What did Dr. Stroupe say? Rhino, 28 states have enabled full practice authority for the NPs in their states. So, and you hear a litany of reasons for opposing such reforms. And it's one of those things where, we're not on the ground in the trenches every day dealing with that. The average person is. Certainly the legislators aren't. I don't know how many physicians or nurses we have among our legislators. There are a few. But I don't know that overall it's widely understood at that level the way someone would understand it on the ground. And so they rely on external parties to advise them on such matters, as is the case with much of what lawmakers do. No problem with that. We'll see where that goes. The president is defending his plan to offer 600,000 Chinese student visas. He says, quote, I want to see our school system thrive. He says, we have a lot of people coming in from China. We always have. China and other countries. That's what he said to Fox News' Laura Ingraham on the Ingraham Angle Monday evening. He says we have a massive system of colleges and universities, and if we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have half the colleges in the United States go out of business. I think that's a big deal. That's what our president said. He also added that this hit, should it occur, would really affect the HBCUs, the historically black colleges and universities, really hard, and that, quote, they would all be out of business. Interesting. He said the plan is not aimed at China, but at the international students from around the world more broadly, and his thinking comes from a business perspective. Quote, we take in trillions of dollars from students. I don't know, that sounds a little high. I don't know if it's trillions, but that's on up there. You know, the students pay more than double when they come in from foreign countries. I want to see our school system thrive. It's almost like tariff for students. Colleges often charge international students higher tuition. That is absolutely true. He's also said that a lot of the MAGA base of supporters is objecting to this idea. He said, don't forget, MAGA was my idea. MAGA was nobody else's idea. I know what MAGA wants better than anybody else, and MAGA wants to see our country thrive. And he also defended, of course, in this discussion, the focus on H-1B visas and bringing more foreign workers into the country. He said when you don't have certain talents, you have to have people to learn. You can't take people off like an unemployment line and say, I put you into a factory. We're going to make missiles. And that is in reference to the detention of hundreds of thousands of South Korean workers at a battery plant in Georgia earlier this year, defended the company's decision to bring them to the United States. Interesting. A lot of stuff going on there. Out there in Seattle, man, oh man, what appears to be the next mayor of Seattle is totally crazy. Katie Wilson, who is, again, a self-avowed socialist, admits she's living off monthly checks from her parents. She's about to be the mayor. And she says she won't allow grocery chains to close stores in the business. Close stores in the city. Now, how does a mayor have such control over a business operating in the city limits for the city that where they're the mayor? How can they just say you can't close? I mean, I know they want to. They want to control every aspect.
The short answer is they can't, they don't, and they won't.
That's what she's saying.
If you have the keys to the store and you lock the store, they're not going to open the store.
Unbelievable.
Because they're afraid of lawsuits as much as anybody else.
Well, that's true. She has zero power to do this, but it doesn't matter.
Because all the idiots that vote for her are going to lap it up like little trained seals they are.
And that's absolutely what's going on. I mean, I'm looking at it right now where she's making this announcement, and all the trained seals are flanking her with their little signs, Katie Wilson for mayor. Get this. No. She's at a podium with a handheld mic, And there's a sign on the front of the podium, and it's some union. I don't know, UFCW 3000. I'm assuming that's some union. Food workers, perhaps. And the sign says, "Fresh food for all." I just thought that was hilarious. But she says, yeah, we're not going to let them close grocery stores in our city. But yet she's living off checks from her parents. And that's who these fools are about to elect. What the heck's going on in this country? Are people really just that lacking in basic intellect? Sadly, yes, I know it's a rhetorical question. That's just incredible. But they are about to elect this fool who says that her top priorities are addressing the homelessness and housing crisis. And all that is just code word for I'm going to take money from these people and give it to these people.
And you'll still have homeless and you'll still have a housing crisis.
100%. Improving public safety through alternative responses. In other words, if someone's brandishing a gun about to blow up a bunch of people, we're going to step in with some counseling, right? We're going to talk them off the ledge. Right. Pay no attention to the fact that these people have zero regard for human life. Zero. They'll shoot you down for $10. That's what the problem is in our country. And I say again, if you research their background, their lived experiences, as the left likes to say, you'll find more than likely they came from a dysfunctional home. Had no guidance, no mentor, no role model in their life whatsoever. Thus, they have no regard for human life, and the cycle continues. This is a major problem in this country. Major problem. It's a problem right here in the state of Mississippi. And electing people like this who say, yeah, we're going to send out social workers to do some counseling to these people. Just not going to happen. She also has promised to, quote, Trump-proof Seattle. That's a major theme of her platform, including safeguarding the rights of immigrants and refugees and defending LGBTQ plus communities and reproductive rights. Of course. Meanwhile, I caught this story that got my attention, and let's see if I can find it here. And it has to do with more indoctrination of young people, of this LGBTQ agenda. It really is totally incredible when you look at it. And it's third graders. Literally, they're doing this in the third grade. We got a break right now. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert, here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Yes, the Bethel School District in Oregon. They're running an LGBTQ club for third and fourth graders. I mean, these are kids as young as 8, and they're inviting them to join an LGBTQ club to teach them that they can be trans, I guess. Is that what this is all about? The Rainbow Club. It sounds so noble, so fun. So fresh and flowery and friendly. The Rainbow Club. How could you be opposed to that? That's despicable. that these adults would abuse youngsters like this, young, malleable, impressionable children. Good gosh, man. And, of course, I'm having a little trouble with my Twitter this morning. Otherwise, I would send this to you. But there are two teachers who were the organizers of this particular club. Without me sending this to you, I bet you could describe their physical appearance.
Oh, yeah. If they manage to get by the bylaws stating that they can't have facial piercings as a teacher, then they probably got those. I would imagine they both have the brightly colored hair.
Ding, 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 ding.
With the power glasses if they wear glasses. And they likely have their bangs covering their forehead.
One of two does.
They're wearing the uniform of nonconformity.
That's right. Oh, man. One of them is a school counselor. You described him to a T, of course. And the other is a third-grade teacher. This is liberalism on full display. These are sick people. And look, out there on social media, the folks who are exposing this have also posted a screenshot of all the school board members and their email addresses. Good for them. I hope they blow them up. Better yet, show up at a school board meeting and confront them with this. That's the only way we're going to change this crap. My fear is, and I don't know this for sure, and I'm asking anybody in the state of Mississippi, if you're aware of any of this crap happening in our K-12 schools, let us know. This is unacceptable. I don't care where it is. It saddens me that this is happening anywhere in America, honestly. I thought the goal in teaching third and fourth graders was to just ensure that they are educated with and learn the basics of reading and communicating and mathematics, maybe a little bit of basic science, trying to think back of what my years in the third and fourth grade were like. History.
Biggest hurdle in third grade that I remember was the multiplication tables.
That's when you got multiplication. Addition and subtraction, first and second, right? Multiplication. And in my day, I had to stand up in front of the class and recite them. And it was kind of embarrassing. It was a good learning, teaching tool if you couldn't recite it in front of everybody. And I don't know how they do it today. But we certainly didn't talk about LGBTQ stuff. Isn't there enough time in their life later to be exposed to that and make their mind up accordingly? Why in the third and fourth grade? Because these people who are doing it are miserable. Let's be honest. They're miserable.
And if they're a part of the Rainbow Coalition, they were likely assaulted at around that age, and that's why they are the way they are. That's the dirty little secret nobody wants to talk about.
But this idea of that manifesting inside your body and your brain in such a way that you feel compelled to channel that and indoctrinate children is just beyond belief. I can't think of anything more harmful. Imagine you're a parent and your child comes home with this flyer, your third grade child. You're invited to Rainbow Club. I just don't know. And again, people out there may be saying that I'm just being homophobic here. No, it's not got nothing to do with that. I've said many, many times, and I know you agree, you're an adult, knock yourself out. Don't care. But in our schools, what value does this have to the educational process? Zero. These are people practicing their social justice activism in third grade classrooms to a captive audience that they know can't walk away. That's why they do it. Because if they did it among adults who don't care to hear all that, they just walk away. I don't want to hear your crap. But they know when they have them sitting in the chairs in the classroom, they abuse that privilege. That's just wrong. Big time wrong. It's amazing to me that after everything that's happened in this country, where it seems like people started to figure out this really isn't good. Even people on the left in this country, especially with the crossover in sports. There's still remnants of it, though. It hasn't been completely expunged. And you see it more prevalent, of course, in somewhere like Oregon, especially on the west side of the Cascades where it's loony land. And on the east side, it's like it is here in Mississippi, honestly. Literally is divided by that mountain range. That's why so many counties east of the Cascades have organized an effort to join Idaho, right?
Greater Idaho.
Yeah, Greater Idaho, to get the hell out of this cesspool. And the mayor of Seattle, we're not letting grocery stores shut down. And now Mondami's elected in New York, and you've seen Kathy Hochul say, yeah, we're not going to let you give away free bus rides. She, the Democrat mayor, who endorsed him, by the way, but she did stop short of endorsing all of his policies. We all knew this. Why didn't she come out and say that more emphatically during the campaign? Hey, by the way, mayor candidate Mondami, you ain't going to give away the buses. We're not going to do that for free. That has to flow through Albany.
Because truth and reality don't matter in the game of politics, especially if you're playing from the left-hand side.
That's awful. Unfortunately, I know you're right, and that bothers me. You shouldn't ever take advantage of that situation, but they do for political gain, 100% for personal political gain. She wouldn't come out and say, got to tell you folks in New York City there, all 8 million of you, he may be talking about making buses free, but that authority rests with the state capitol and the lawmakers and I as governor. That would have been a simple statement. Now, maybe it wouldn't have affected the crazy people that voted this guy in. Unfortunately, it's millions of them. Maybe it wouldn't have. But it certainly, I think, would have influenced the outcome to some extent. I just do believe that. But she's a coward. At the end of the day, they're cowards. They're cowards because of the impact it would have on their own personal political future. Nothing more cowardly than a politician who has got that eye towards the next election cycle, and you end up with bad decisions. Man, oh man. Amanda from Pike County says that's grooming in the worst way. I agree, Amanda, and I'm going to say again, you're an adult, I don't care. I believe in freedom. But to take advantage of your position as a teacher or an administrator or any setting where the adult is in control of children, to take advantage of that for personal political gain is the most heinous kind of sin I can think of, honestly. Mailman Clayton says, since homosexuals don't procreate, they must recruit. There's a point to that, Mailman Clayton. I feel like it's that many of them are miserable, and not all of them. And again, I don't care. You're an adult. But there is something about how they want to sort of expand their reach and their numbers, and they feel compelled to do so in the classroom. In a K-12 setting with children, it's just beyond belief. That's how Democrats are. They won't talk about their own party. She knew damn well she was going to support this guy, but she left. She let it go so a Democrat could win. What a joke. That's on the C Spire text line. Agree. Well said, Rhino. Truth doesn't matter to the left. Agree. And by the way, Amanda, I checked that out. That's pretty cool. My brother, she said, is the illustrator for Justice Neil Gorsuch's children's book, and I did check it out. That's a really neat book showcasing American heroes in his upcoming book. Looks like it's all about the founders of our country and those who were the heroes of 1776 and were brave enough to form up, and put documents in place that essentially launched the greatest civilization, the greatest nation on the face of the earth. That's really neat. KC says, I'm sure the school counselor takes her marching orders from the American School Counselor Association. I promise you, Casey, we're going to work on that. I hear you. I've heard you loud, and you know that, and I'm not. I appreciate you always letting us know that, honestly. I'm certainly not fussing at you here whatsoever. I'm with you. And it is ridiculous that our state still adheres to the ASCA standards in many cases, if not all of them, right, Casey, according to the DOE. Let it happen at the district level at a minimum. We're coming right back.
Puyallup, Mississippi. You're listening to Middays with Gerard here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Element Wealth Studio. We appreciate you joining us today. Just checking, do we have some tickets to give away later on today or not? I didn't know. I didn't check the live reads. Might need to. Don't forget that on Friday, that'd be tomorrow, I'm going to be in Oxford for the annual Ole Miss Banking and Finance Symposium.
Yeah, we got a chance to give away some tickets.
Chicago, right? Coming to the Brandon Amphitheater next year sometime. Middays with Gerard going to be in Oxford for the annual Ole Miss Banking and Finance Symposium. To register for this event, go to the UM alumni page or email Dr. Ken Syree at kbsyree@olemiss.edu. Are you thinking about or planning for retirement? Do you have a plan? Go to myelementwealth.com or call 601-957-6006 to let Element Wealth help you find your balance between income, growth, and guarantees. Now, I've been noticing the funny money is still staying around that like 102, 103 mark. Is that right? Last I checked. Not a whole lot of movement there. Earlier this morning, quick check of the markets. The Dow was down, as was the NASDAQ. That's still the situation. Down a lot now. The NASDAQ down 471. Not sure what's driving it down.
Yeah, the funny money got up to 104,000 overnight, and now it's back down to just under 100,000.
Okay. There you go. The Dow down 478. So both the Dow and the NASDAQ in negative territory, over 400 points. What's happening out there today to drive the markets down? Now, I know we had a run-up the last couple of days, pretty good gains. Something's going on. The 10-year Treasury up a little bit. Bitcoin now below 100,000, 99, the last trade I just saw. What the heck's happening in the Dow? Something they don't like. Oh, you know, one thing, today's the day we were supposed to get some of the jobs and economic data from the federal government, but that ain't going to happen because it's been shut down. So we're literally looking at a situation where for the month of October, it was supposed to come in today. We may never get that data from the month of October, for the month of October, because the government was shut down. So no jobs report, and it's really incredible. So it's got a little bit of a limbo feeling from the Bureau of Labor Statistics with respect to the markets, because I'm not sure I can ever remember a time when, hey, because the government was shut down, we're not going to get any October data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Private data, of course, indicates very much a cooling labor market with slowing job creation. Still have a low unemployment rate, but we're seeing rising layoffs, and that's got some folks a little nervous, I think, with respect to the markets. But we're not going to get the unemployment rate. We're not going to get job creation data. It's not going to happen for the month of October Just incredible. It's being reported that the October jobs report will be released, just without a reading of the unemployment rate. That's what the head of the Council of Economic Advisors, Kevin Hassan, said yesterday. Kevin Hassett. So that's interesting. I just can't ever remember that. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said yesterday that the October jobs report, as well as the CPI, that's a measure of inflation, will, quote, likely never, end quote, be released. Wow. Didn't think we'd see that. Yes, so on the C Spire text line, had a friend text in and said, yeah, there is a relationship between MPs and doctors, and they do pay, in some cases, a very stiff amount for that relationship and that privilege. I've never really heard that, whenever I've been at the Capitol, come up the way it did on our show, and I'm glad it did. I've not heard it pronounced the way it was today. In fact, Rhino, I think it's fair to say Dr. Stroupe flat out said, yeah, they're lobbying against this because of money, right? I don't think I'm misrepresenting that. She didn't mince any words, and I appreciate her being forthcoming and honest in that respect. Interesting, though. I'd like to see us work something out. And I say that because one of the major drivers of the increase of health care, forget insurance, just health care, it is a demand-supply thing. We're using way more care than we ever have, and we don't have as many people and resources to dispense it. So I think ending the restrictions on nurse practitioners could address that. Fox News, SuperTalk News coming up next, and Martha Allen at Extra Table.
And now, the talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
That's what I like to listen to.
You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert. Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. Hour 3 of Middays. The afternoon portion of the program is now live from the Element Wealth Studio on this
Friday Eve.
We welcome now Martha Allen, Executive Director, Extra Table. Hey, Martha.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I took a little break between our chicken distribution today to visit with you, so I'm excited to be here and off the road for a minute.
Absolutely. Appreciate you joining us. So tell us about how you guys have gotten really mobilized and busy here lately trying to fill the void that the government shutdown left with so many Mississippians not receiving their SNAP benefits.
Well, when Robert St. John founded Extra Table 15 years ago, we were designed to fill these gaps for times just like this. We like to say there's no red tape, just full plates. We're the only non-government subsidized food bank that we know of, not just in the state of Mississippi, but anywhere for that matter.
Yeah.
So our mission says we fundraise in order to purchase new, healthy, and shelf-stable food. So at times like this, our board and our team were able to make decisions, just like you're mentioning. We doubled the amount of food that we're delivering to our pantry partners this month.
All right, so share with us some of the details, some of the numbers. How many chickens are we talking about here?
9,810 chickens, Mississippi-grown birds. Those are, right? Those have taken flight, so to say, and they're on the way to our pantry partners. We have one stop left in North Mississippi today, and all of those birds will have found a home.
Operation Henny 9000, is that right? Is that what we're calling it?
That's correct. That's correct. It's a part of our Give 'em a Bird campaign, our Thanksgiving campaign. It gives you a good chuckle.
9,810 frozen chickens.
Everyone accounted for. So Mississippi-grown birds. And it was incredible for us to have the opportunity to purchase a Mississippi product, a product that impacts the Mississippi economy in such a big way.
Absolutely. And these went to food pantries and soup kitchens across the state. Is that right?
They sure did. So we, this is our Thanksgiving distribution. We do this every year. But in addition to this, we doubled our donation to our pantry partners. So we typically spend $95,000 worth of food on food to 66 food pantries across the state of Mississippi. And this month we committed $190,000 worth of food, plus those 9,810 chickens. We'll have sweet potato trucks on the road next week, as well as rice from our partners, Two Brooks Rice.
Gotcha. Well, that's awesome. So if someone wanted to donate to Extra Table to help out, how can they do that?
And there's so many ways, and we try to make it so easy for you. A good old paper check in the snail mail always works for us. But you can go to our website, extratable.org, and click donate in the top right corner and make a donation right there through your bank account, PayPal, or your credit card. But an additional way for all those listening that own a business in the state of Mississippi that pay income tax or ad valorem taxes, you can take advantage of FBCO, Food Bank Charitable Organization Act, and that allows you to pay up to 50% of what you owe to the state of Mississippi to Extra Table. So if you're paying income taxes, we're able to help you divert that money to Extra Table to help us feed those hungry throughout the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, you can send your money to Extra Table instead of the Department of Revenue, where it just gets filtered out through government. That's a good idea. I like it. So Gulfport, that's your first stop, my understanding from reading the press release there?
That was our first stop. Yes, sir. We delivered birds at FEB Distributing right there in Gulfport. It's nice to have beer distributorship as partners because they've got all the forklifts. So they had the chickens moving early for us yesterday morning, and we started this morning at Delta Implement in Leland, Mississippi, and so everywhere in between Hattiesburg and Jackson, and we're on to Tupelo this afternoon.
Okay. And also the Pine Belt as well. Was that today or yesterday?
We hit Hattiesburg yesterday. So we were there yesterday. We had Cadence Bank out in big numbers to help volunteer.
Gotcha.
So the work we do at Extra Table is so important. And whoever thought we would be saying something like now more than ever again after COVID days. But, you know, what we're looking at Extra Table is a time where, there's not a surplus of food of things that we can shift around. Our pantries have been seeing a increase in requests for services since, the late summer months, July and August. And so when you take that and you remove SNAP benefits and have a government shutdown and people that have never gone to a food pantry before, the numbers and the people going to our food pantries is just rising rapidly. And Extra Table we're able to be nimble and to make decisions for Mississippians by Mississippians to feed Mississippians.
And, of course, we have the holidays coming up. First of all, Thanksgiving. Not long after that, of course, the Christmas holidays. And we want everybody to have plenty of food to eat on the Thanksgiving holiday coming up. What can folks do to help out with that? It's my understanding that not a whole lot of money goes a long way there.
Yes, we are fundraising rapidly to add more food to our pantry partners before the holidays are here, just because there's so much need and it's just going to be doubling and tripling. Even as the government opens up, there's still people that are experiencing setbacks and that just, live paycheck to paycheck. 52% of the 1.2 million households in the state of Mississippi are something called ALICE. And that means asset limited, income constrained, but employed. So those are our friends and neighbors that are working Mississippians that just can't make ends meet to get dinner on the table. So we are actively fundraising. We're always actively fundraising. And that's the important part about what we do. That's what our mission states. So when you donate $1 to me at Extra Table, we can take that and quadruple it. So instead of you going to the grocery store and getting a pack of gum for $1, you can give me that $1. I can buy 4 healthy meals and deliver it to the food pantry. So our administrative costs are fundraised and taken care of completely separate. So whatever you donate to Extra Table is going to feed a hungry neighbor across our state.
Awesome. So $15 will cover the cost of 3 birds this holiday. Is that right?
It sure does.
Wow.
Our Give 'em a Bird campaign is just $15. We'll put, that bird on the table for a family. And And we're blessed. We've never sat down at a table that was empty. And so that bird is a central piece, and we're glad to be a part of providing that to our food pantry partners across the state. And
if someone wanted to do that, they can text, right, to a certain text number there?
You can text. So those 3 birds, so it's real easy to remember. So you text 44321, and you just type in your messages 3 birds, no space, 44321, and type 3 birds. And you can find that all over our website and on our social media. But it's a fun link to share with friends, because a neighbor that can be like, hey, I'd love to donate as well. So it's fun to share with friends and neighbors. And we've had texting parties across the state in order to raise awareness and to raise funds.
And just to clarify, it's the number 3 followed by the word birds. 3 birds to 44321.
Yes,
yeah. No, just want to make sure folks know. Yeah. And that goes, exactly or they can go to extratable.org/bird and learn more about this program as well. But man, that's fantastic. $15. Surely we can make that happen. Get enough people to chip in 15.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
It's an easy gift, and all of us can make that gift this holiday season.
Yeah. And we're doing this outside of government here. So as you explained earlier, your money is going to the need prescribed and going directly to those who need help.
We kind of say we're like the St. Jude of feeding. So, when you go to St. Jude, you get the children get free, wonderful treatment. Those doctors are getting paid some way, somehow, but separately from your donation. Yeah. And that's how it is at Extra Table. That's how Robert St. John set it up 15 years ago. Yeah. So you give us, we get the free food to the food pantries every month to their doorstep, quality, nutritious food. And our salaries are taken care of by a separate group. And we are only a team of 4 women, so there's not much overhead at all.
Gotcha. Well, it's awesome, and it's a great way to help and give back. So the point is, all somebody has to do is give a little bit out of their pocket. You guys got everything else handled. You take care of all the acquisition, all the logistics, all the distribution, all the support mechanisms required to get this food out to the tables of those who need it. That's where your organization comes in. It can't get any easier than that. And we are blessed that Robert St. John put this program together. He cares deeply about the state of Mississippi. He's a fantastic ambassador for our state, as are you, Martha. We appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you. Thanks a lot. Folks, we're stepping aside for a break. We're coming right back.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Let's do this.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Let's go.
When I think back on all the crap I learned in high school, it's a wonder I can think at all. And my lack of education hasn't hurt enough. I can read the writing on the wall. Hold a throne that gives the nice bright colors, give us the green.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. SuperTalk, Mississippi. So you were just telling me about Senator John Fetterman from the great state of Pennsylvania. What's happening there?
Yeah, apparently he took a bit of a tumble this morning and smacked up his face a bit. He fell near his home in Braddock earlier this morning on a walk, and out of an abundance of caution, they took him to a hospital in Pittsburgh, I believe, and it was discovered he had a fibrillation flare-up. It caused him to become lightheaded and fall and hit his face. And his quote, I'm trying to find it again so I can get the exact quote, but he basically said, if you thought my face looked bad earlier, you should see it now.
Man, that's pretty good on his part. I can see him saying that. He's just evolved into a breath of fresh air somewhat, just a face, while we're talking about it, of common sense. That he's made it clear. He opposed the shutdown. He voted with Republicans on the measure to reopen and fund the government every time it came up. And he made it clear, I believe that's more important than my party, loyalty to the party. We need more like that. He said that we should, I think I'm representing his comments accurately. He said we should never shut the government down. Didn't he say that? You remember? And that's why he used that as justification for voting for the CR. So that, we need to debate, and I agree. Let's debate the issues. You want to talk about the enhanced subsidies for Obamacare? Fine. Let's put that on the table. Let's debate. But to shut the government down, it's so petulant. Well, I didn't get my way. I'm shutting it down. But I tell you what, it has fractured the Democrat Party. Now, we all know that our news cycle is such that people forget in a hurry. There's no doubt. And we'll get past this, likely, and won't even remember it, won't even blink about it. But as it stands right now, today, the Democrat Party is facing a day of reckoning in that they are deeply split. There's a huge rift within the party. Their leader in the Senate, isn't he something? Chuck Schumer faces really mounting calls from Democrats to resign as the leader. Progressive Rep Rashida Tlaib. Don't agree with her on anything. Maybe this is the first time I've ever agreed with her. She's part of the squad, as you know. She said, quote, Senator Schumer has failed to meet the moment and is out of touch with the American people. Hey, Representative Tlaib, how long did it take you to come to that conclusion?
Well, that's the ultimate irony and the proof positive that they don't have any standards except for their own double standards, because the same people crying about Schumer allowing the shutdown to end are the same people that were trying to campaign on the shutdown being Republicans' problem. So they're really just wanting more political fodder to fling at the fan than to actually get anything done.
Well, because it attains for them what you have pointed out numerous times. They covet most of all, and that's attention. They're getting attention over this, right? And let's be honest, there's some on the right that are they're seeking the limelight as well. Marjorie Taylor Greene, don't get between her and a camera. You'll get bulldozed, that's for sure. So it's just what the world has become. Talking about the world of politics has become. It's almost like a contest for who can get more attention, who can get more clicks. By the way, received a message from Congressman Michael Guest. He ain't happy about this insertion in the bill that to reopen the government that gives them some authority or some ability, I should say, to to sue the government and get restitution. He ain't happy about that. So he says that we're going to do something about it. And I hope he's right. I do, because I think it's ridiculous. And how did that get snuck in like that? I'm becoming lesser of a fan of Lindsey Graham as time goes on. I've never been a huge fan, but I did see a point where it seemed like, remember, we talked about it. I can't remember what the issue is, but like, wow, is this guy starting to come around to his senses here? But he's off the deep end again with this, I'm going to sue you and all. Come on, man.
He's another one that is starved for attention.
Oh, no doubt about it. So Congressman Michael Guest has informed that he doesn't agree with it. He thinks it's crazy. And what did he say? The Senate created a cause of action to allow them to sue the DOJ. I think it's BS is what he said. I agree with him. The Speaker said he will be introducing a bill next week to undo it. The old saying is, quote, the Dems are our adversaries and the Senate is our enemy. Oh, my gosh. It's wrong. And I certainly hope that Speaker of the House Mike Johnson does, in fact, author some legislation and introduces that in the House and strips that provision out of the funding bill. And glad to know that our congressman in the 3rd District here is on board with doing so. Get the government open first. Let's get this pulled out, though. Hopefully that will happen. That's the kind of stuff that I think really aggravates people more than anything about politics. Is again, it's these like special treatment that they get. The rest of us couldn't do that and get away with it and achieve anything. And I think we did that. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully we'll get some new legislation to fix it, right? So I think Trump team is out this morning saying shutdown costs $15 billion a week and probably costs 60,000 jobs that were let go. Maybe that's why the market is down. So on the break, did a little research. It's the feeling among investors that the run-up's been a little too frothy, and they're just kind of rebalancing, especially in the technology issues. That's where the big sell-off is. So not unexpected, honestly. And by the way, historically, November, December, not great months for technology stocks. I fully expect all hands on deck, full speed ahead in the technology sector after Christmas. I just do. There's just too much positive going on there, too much positive momentum. But the fact that we're looking at a little sell-off right now is not surprising whatsoever. Little rebalancing going on. There are certainly concerns about the overall macro economy with lots of job losses. No doubt about it going on. Mose says, Gerard, the Senate snuck that language in there and will resist any attempt by the House to do away with it. You could be right, Mose, and I don't doubt it. But I would say this is my opinion here. If the House passes a bill to overturn that and strip that out, if you will, override what was passed in the continuing resolution, enabling these senators to sue the government. And if the Senate does not pass it and Republicans are responsible in that they don't support that legislation, I think that will be politically unpopular for Republicans and the senators. And it could be a factor in the midterms. I can see the Democrats really playing that up in the midterms. And I hope that is not the case. So I certainly hope that what they do is see fit to strip out that provision which grants preferential treatment to members of the Senate. Just don't like it. Talk about forgetting. Who would have ever thought New York would have forgotten 9/11 so soon, says Patrick in Louisville. Yeah, that's been a subject that's come up, Patrick. You're right. I'm a little surprised at that as well. And it seems like it was just yesterday we witnessed the largest city in this country respond in such a united way. And it seemed like the country was coming together with the common goal of defeating terrorism and rebuilding New York City and restoring the American way of life and order and not allowing it to be disrupted by these ruthless subhuman terrorists, but seems today you're right. We sort of have forgotten that. That's sad. Coming right back.
I'm gonna make a child, oh Lord. Gonna get by with my friend.
Come on. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
It is
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us. All right, Rhino, you want to give away some tickets?
Yeah, let's give away some tickets to see one of the best-selling bands of all time, Chicago. They're coming to Brandon next year, and you don't want to miss it. You can get pre-sale tickets through tonight by using the code BA2025. That's BA2025 at Ticketmaster.com. But we're going to give you a chance to win a free pair of tickets to see Chicago. All you got to do is be the 16th person to text into the C-Spire text line. That's 601-879-4395. Be the 16th person to text the word beginnings to 601-879-4395, and you'll be the winner of a pair of tickets to see Chicago in Brandon next year.
There you go. So, a lot of talk about the possibility of transitioning the current ACA subsidy model to either a flexible spending account or a health savings account model. The president hasn't really specified, but he has which of those mechanical uses he would favor. But what is true is that he wants to, rather than paying the insurance companies directly through the premium tax credit program when you purchase coverage in the ACA marketplaces. They started out being called exchanges, and that word's kind of been replaced with marketplaces. By the way, there are 90 insurance companies. I was shocked when I researched this across the country. 90 who sell in the marketplaces. 90. I think 5 in Mississippi. So folks that say, well, you don't have a choice, that there's no competition, well, that's not really true. You got 5 that you can choose from. Now, when it originally started in Mississippi in 2014, I only had 2. And as I recall, it was 2 carriers that had no network here, meaning that when you go to the doctor and services are rendered, your doctor would not file your charges on your behalf with the insurance company and wait to be reimbursed. You had to pay right then and there. You then file. You wait for money. So you're out of pocket in the meantime. And we had 2. Now we have 5. And they have greatly expanded their provider networks, have the 5. So a lot more choices, more robust networks. And as a result, there are 370,000 Mississippians enrolled in the ACA exchanges, the vast majority of which do receive premium tax credits. I ran across somebody else I mentioned the other day, Rhino. I was discussing that structure with someone who didn't realize they were actually getting taxpayer-funded subsidies. I've run into somebody else that I've just enlightened that you know that when you plug in your information, you're getting these quotes out, and when you buy that, they're handling all that on your behalf. The federal government's essentially paying them, the insurance companies, and that's what the president wants to stop, is paying them directly. He wants to convert that to, let's just send money to enrollees in these accounts that they would then use to fund their medical care. Now, typically, as you know, with the HSAs and FSAs, you're only funding the out-of-pocket medical expenses. It's not intended to be a substitute for insurance. It's intended to cover the cost that your insurance doesn't. So typically you have those accounts, an HSA, for example, or an FSA, in conjunction with your insurance policy, your coverage. So the deductibles, the co-pays, the co-insurance, stuff that's not covered by your insurance, you use your HSA, FSA, which is pre-tax. That's the benefit of it. You can deposit money in it, and typically your employer will do a little bit of that as well, and you can deposit that into those accounts and then use those accounts without paying taxes on it. In other words, it's pre-tax, and then use those accounts to pay for these expenses. Child care and elderly care, disabled adult care is a common use of a flexible spending account. In the old days, we used to call those cafeteria plans. I don't think they call them that anymore, but similar deal. So if the government's going to send this money to the policyholders, that the 24 million that are enrolled in the ACA marketplaces nationwide, we're just going to send them that money that is now being sent to the insurance companies to pay for health care coverage through.
Would it really be sending them the money, or would it be setting aside their money in an account?
Sending it in an account. Yeah, I want to be clear there. It honestly, it worked like SNAP. It's how it have to work. And so immediately, right, that raises concerns because you're depositing money in an account that ostensibly would only be used for the payment of medical services, deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance, prescription drugs, stuff that's not covered.
Although unlike SNAP, I would presume it would be tied to that person's name at least.
Well, you would hope.
Wouldn't be as easily transferable.
You would hope that the system that is used to approve one for these benefits would be more robust, that we wouldn't be so reliant on the "it's not my problem" people, which is always a concern. But nonetheless, it's a bunch of money going out. Right now, it's $130 billion a year is what the subsidies cost. So one point to make, though, is under present law, you can't use those accounts to buy insurance. You can only use those accounts to directly pay for patient services. The out-of-pocket costs associated with medical care. You can't use it to buy insurance, which is what the subsidies do now. They buy insurance. So that money wouldn't go to the insurance companies. It generally would mean that if you really want robust coverage, you would have an HSA and you get money from the government for that, and you'd have to go buy your insurance on your own. Most people that are enrolled in the exchanges couldn't do it, wouldn't have the money to do it, because most of them fit, half of the enrollees fit within that 150 to 200% of the federal poverty level range. When I looked at the distribution of that, in fact, you sent me that, I believe. You were able to find that, 150 to 200. So you're talking about people whose income is $20,000 to $30,000, an individual a year. Pretty hard to buy a $10,000 insurance policy on that basis. So you get the money from the federal government in this HSA account. You could use that to again, cover your various medical expenses. But if you had a big-time medical issue that costs a lot of money, there you go again. You wouldn't be able to pay for it. And likely, you wouldn't have the money to absorb anything of that magnitude. And is that going to fall on the taxpayers and those that do have full health coverage, which is kind of the way it works now? The uninsured costs, they essentially get filtered through and passed down under the current system. So I'm not sure this would drive the cost of care down. My belief is that the reason care has risen is because we have way more of it than we ever have. Think about the GLP-1 drugs. How long has that been around? 2 years now? Not long, right? I mean,
for its current popular use.
Okay.
Been around a little longer than that.
But it's gained popularity substantially. And so think about, you're in the insurance business, and I'm not defending insurance companies. I'm just really just sharing the reality. And you've got coverage, Then all of a sudden these things get popular and people want them, and you have to step up to be competitive and include those in your coverage for those in your policies. Well, that's more out-of-pocket cost, and you're going to have to raise premiums because people are using more. That's what's driving our health care cost up, in my view, more than anything, is we keep inventing new care, new drugs, new therapies, new treatments, new procedures. People want them, but they cost money. Another big factor is we're getting older. We're living longer, getting older. All the baby boomers, my generation, we need more medical care. So it's a situation where we have a significant spike in demand, but we really haven't countered that and kept up with that with supply. Thus, the price goes up. And by price, I don't mean the price of insurance in that regard. I mean the price of doctors and nurses and clinics and hospitals and drugs and medical devices. All that is up because there's a substantial increase in demand, and supply ain't keeping up. And there's a massive expansion of the range of all of those various health care provisions that we just haven't seen in the past. And so insurance is compelled to cover that. Insurance was cheap 30 years ago because there was a limit on what you could even buy. Final segment of Middays coming up next.
Hi, this is Mark.
Are we going to do this? Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Keep rolling. 3, 2, 1.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. Final segment. I know a lot of folks get mad, including me, about the provision of the numerous benefits this country offers to the needy that are abused. And one of the areas of abuse that really aggravates people, understandably and rightfully so, are illegals that flow across our border and then they avail themselves to these benefits. But I wanted to point this out. By far, there's greater abuse from a financial perspective by citizens. That's a bigger problem. And the reality is that I've discussed on the show before is that we've never allowed illegals to participate in these programs. Do they slip through? Absolutely. But I think what's confusing is there are a lot of people that come here illegally, and especially during the Biden administration, and then they are granted some legal status. And our law says if you have these legal statuses, you're eligible for these benefits the same as a citizen is. So what the One Big Beautiful Bill Act did, despite what the Democrats say, and honestly, a little bit of a nuanced distinction in what the Republicans have said, it eliminated benefit eligibility for certain classes of legal immigrants. And I'm fine with that. Parolees, asylees, refugees, except, and I still can't figure this out other than the research you and I did, you in particular, about some laws we passed a long time ago during the boat people era. Refugees, asylees, parolees from Cuba and Haiti are explicitly exempt. They can still obtain benefits, SNAP benefits, ACA benefits, Medicaid benefits. Those are the big ones. If they are not a citizen, but they have legal immigration status from Cuba or Haiti. That's the way the One Big Beautiful Bill Act was designed. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Rhino, it's because of the other statutes on the books that applied directly to those countries would require the 60 votes, right? I think that's what's going on there.
That's correct.
So that's why we ended up with exempting them, but we're able to preclude and prohibit the refugees, asylees, parolees from enrolling in these benefits, even though they're, quote, legal.
Because those changes were made in policy of the executive branch, not acts of Congress.
Correct, right. They're not statute, thus the simple majority can reverse that. The problem is we let so many dang across the border, and the Biden administration was giving those legal statuses out like popcorn. Literally is what happened. And that's been a drag on our systems and our benefits. But where I'm going with this is, just reported a Mississippi woman arrested for receiving $25,000 in SNAP fraud. There are numerous examples of this across the country. And once again, it comes down to what you said. How many times have you heard me say, it's because they don't properly verify their income? Because that's the main eligibility criteria. According to the Department of Services, she didn't, Mississippi Department of Services, Human Services, pardon me, she didn't properly report her household income. Of course. And the composition of her house. That was the other issue that we've discussed many times. You can't figure out who the hell's living in the house. But our law says that you're supposed to add up the income of everybody under that roof to determine if you're eligible for Medicaid, for SNAP, for ACA benefits. It's all based on that. Household income. The problem is, what the heck's the household income? What's the household? And the not my problem people can't figure that out. And I'm not sure what to do about it other than what I've suggested is until we somehow utilize technology to aid in that determination. If you're relying on the it's not my problem people, they're just going to keep getting approved. And money's going out the door. Way more waste, fraud, and abuse occurs with American citizens like this lady in Jefferson Davis County, Mississippi, who scammed the taxpayers. Because the details haven't been released yet, but guarantee you, she makes too much money. Or the combination of all the people in her household, because they're saying it's a composition of household problem. You know, they make too much money. So they're all going and get these damn benefits, applying for and being approved on the basis of probably their income individually, which does make them eligible. But when you dig into it, well, you're living with all these other people in this household and you're dividing up the expenses. You don't qualify. That's a much bigger problem that needs to be addressed, and we will continue to experience lots of waste, fraud, and abuse at taxpayer expense until we get a grip on this problem, which is just eligibility determination. Huge. And then stop this. Oh, you get a headache every 3 months? Here's a disability card, right? That's a huge problem as well. And all of a sudden, this just panoply of benefits becomes open. We're out of here today up at Ole Miss for the Banking Symposium tomorrow. Stay safe, and God bless everyone.
You're listening to a SuperTalk Mississippi media production.